Hello and welcome to another episode of the Parenting Teens podcast. I'm Reeve, emotional awareness expert, and today I'm going to talk to you about the concept of feeling lost. So obviously, when we talk about emotional awareness, feelings are a big part of this. So first of all, let me just cover a little bit about the difference between emotions and thoughts and feelings, and then we can carry on with the main topic. So when we talk about thoughts, feelings, and actions, or thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, our thoughts are the processes that mentally go on in our head, the things we actually think about our thoughts. So we think thoughts is the easiest way to remember that. Feelings are physiological reactions within our body. For example, when somebody else thinks something and they say something to us, how we react can give us feelings. Either we feel like, oh, that was really nice, and we get a warm, fuzzy glow, or they say something that makes your heart race and you get angry. And it's those physiological feelings of heart pumping, tension, or relaxation, or if they tell you you've just won the lottery, oh, the excitement and the sheer energy that comes with it. These are all the feelings and the reactions that come with it. So the feelings give us the reactions. So it's thoughts create feelings, create reactions or actions. And then the beliefs are much deeper systems within the body and the mind that are things we've learned over time, that have been taught to us, that are, this is how we do things, or we've learned by doing and experimenting with things, the results we get, that is the way to do things. Like, we believe we have to brush our teeth twice a day. We believe we have to eat 3 meals a day, right? Because these are beliefs that are taught to us from childhood when we are sat down for breakfast, lunch, and tea, told to brush our teeth in the morning before going to bed. And every little aspect of your life is built on belief systems, like believing that we have to send our children to school. And for a long time, I believed that until I realized I could actually home educate my children. And then I did, but I'm not here to advocate that right now. It's just something that for me was a belief that to home educate, somebody had to be a tutor or a qualified teacher. I didn't realize that I could do that from the perspective of a mother to keep my children safe. But once I realized that, I was able to shift my beliefs. And oh my goodness, didn't they shift massively? So it's also recognizing where those beliefs are coming from, whatever they are. And for some people, it might be believing they're not good enough, that you're not worthy. For some people, it might be believing that you're going to be a millionaire or you're going to marry somebody rich, right? For some people, it might be growing up believing that you are going to be the best racing driver in the world when you can barely drive around town without running into the signposts. So it's like, where are all these beliefs coming from? And where have you learnt them from? Which ones have you picked up for yourself? And most importantly, which ones are serving you? Which ones are helping you to shift? And which ones do you need to shift to create progress? So that's a completely different point. So let's get back on topic about, what was the topic today? Feeling lost. So yes, feeling lost. When we recognize all these thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, reactions, right, and start to shift belief systems, there comes a point where all of that has got overwhelming. We have been essentially going in the wrong direction. So our thoughts have been going inadvertently in the wrong direction. Our feelings have not necessarily been the feelings we've wanted to feel and the ones that we're feeling stuck with in their place. Beliefs are ones that we have picked up over years and maybe not learned to shift them for more helpful beliefs. And when all of this happens over a long period of time, and we don't recognize the signs in those feelings, hence we call it feeling lost, when we don't recognize the signs in the actual physiological feelings, and then we keep thinking the same thoughts, following the same beliefs, and still coming back out with the same feelings, we still keep going in the wrong direction. And it's not to say it's wrong, but we just keep going in a direction that's not serving us. And this is the same whether you are a parent, a teacher, an educator, whether you're an employer, whether you are a teenager or a young adult, right? And we're all supporting each other. So let's look at this as one big collaboration, because the world is one big humanity hot pot. I don't know what we're going to call it here, but we all support each other. Children grow up being supported by parents and teachers. They go to college and there's more lecturers, and then they go to work and there's employers, and all of them are helping those teenagers and young adults. So it's one big collaboration, one big community. So let's figure out how we can shift all those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs as a collaboration and as a community to help our teenagers and young adults, and also to help ourselves, because when we do this, we all help ourselves. It automatically helps them through the ripple effect and top-down learning. Now, I've already done a podcast episode on those in earlier episodes. Go back and check out the ripple effect or top-down learning if I've done that one as well. So once we start to realize this sensation of, hang on a minute, everything I'm doing is not steering me to where I want to be. They say you are the master of your own ship. Let's find out how you can start steering your ship in the right direction. And if you're doing okay, but your teenager is not, let's look at how you can support them in steering their ship in the right direction through their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and avoid them getting lost at sea and drowning in their own emotions at the end of it when it all goes wrong. Let's get that back and get this going towards calmer seas and happy sunny beaches and tropical palms and, all the pretty pictures that we want to paint when we go on holiday. Not that I ever get to go on holiday that much, but one day I will do a tropical holiday, one day. So when we talk about feeling lost, I like to visualize it as, if, say, for example, you put your rucksack on and your backpack and you've got your lunchbox and a couple of tools with you, and you're going off on a long hike. And off you go, and you've got your map, but somewhere along the line, you chuck your map in the bag or it falls out and you lose it, and you kind of keep going. And then you think, well, that's okay, I know my way. So you keep going. But somewhere along the way, you take one wrong turn. But you think, no, that's fine. No, I am going the right way. And you keep going, even though you've taken a wrong turn. You're going to just keep moving away from where you wanted to be heading. And then you start to think, okay, well, maybe I am a little bit lost. You try to find your map, but you've lost your map. And then you think, nah, that's all right. I'm doing the right thing. And you keep going. Well, you're just going to keep going further and further in the wrong direction, away from where you want to be heading. And then somebody else sees you who knows you and knows where you are heading and says, oh, do you know you're going the wrong way? And you go, no, that's fine. I've got my map. And you kind of just pretend you've still got your map in your rucksack and you say, oh, fine. And that's when you have this kind of ego kick in and doesn't want to be told you're doing things wrong. And you want to feel like you're in control of your own life, in your own direction. I'm in charge of my life. I'm steering my ship. I'm going to keep going the way I'm going. And so they go, okay, as long as you know what you're doing, and they'll leave you to it, and you still keep going in the wrong direction. And then it starts to get dark and it starts to get cold, and you're still hiking in this other direction. I know we keep using the metaphor of ships, but you still keep hiking in the wrong direction. And now you're starting to feel like, maybe I should have listened to somebody. But you're still too proud to ask for help. And so eventually you're walking in the dark and you end up just tripping and falling into a hole, a pit somewhere. And now you're stuck in a rut. And you're in a rock bottom moment, right? You are completely lost. You don't know your way back. And you don't know where you are. And you don't know how you're going to find your way back either. How would that feel? And when we do this emotionally through our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and our actions for everyday tasks every single day, so whether it's through education, through work, through relationships, through hobbies, through social circles, we can take this emotional route for anything in life and end up getting lost and stuck in a rut and feeling like we cannot get ourselves out of it without asking for help. So what do? Do you avoid getting help? Or do you actually wait for the next person to come along and actually say, please, I need help? Because if we are physically lost and stuck, we are more than capable of asking for help. But when we are emotionally lost and stuck, for far too many people, they still seem to think they've still got to keep going it alone and keep going in the wrong direction, or not recognizing. And this is the thing about emotional awareness, as I call it. The awareness part is being aware that those thoughts, feelings, and actions have you feeling like that person who is lost and stuck in a rut, in the dark, in the cold, and has no help. And that you need to call out for help because you can't climb out of that hole on your own. You need someone to come and rescue you. And when you can recognize emotionally that that is where you are, the first thing it does is it empowers you to say, I need help, please, right? I need help, please. And the minute you can resign yourself to accepting that help, guess what? You have just taken the first step back in the right direction. Just the first step, but it's in the right direction now. And that's why it's important to recognize a feeling lost. From there, we have parents, teachers, coaches, trainers, mentors, leaders, therapists, counselors, business managers, whoever it is that you need to turn around to and say, I need help, whether it's a relationship, a partner, a parent, whether it is a sibling, whether you're a parent. And, you know, even at my age, sometimes I get stuck with something. I have to ask my children for help sometimes now. But if I didn't, there are problems that I might be stuck with due to my physical health. But I hope that really does help you comprehend an analogy to that feeling of being lost and how that feels cold and dark and empty and alone, because that is how we recognize feeling lost. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different today for today's podcast, and I'm going to keep it fairly short today, but I'm going to do a reading out of Brain Unchained. And this whole analogy really fitted well with a story of something that happened to me when I was 21 years old. And I went for a drive and I got lost. But let me read this to you and you will understand what I mean. So soon after passing my test, I wanted to drive from Norfolk to Kent to see my grandmother. My boyfriend at that time came with me. I took all the directions from my father and wrote them down. My boyfriend had a map and the list of instructions. I was driving. There were no mobile phones or internet in those days, so we had a traditional paper map. On the way there, I pretty much knew my way out of Norfolk, and I followed the road signs with my father's instructions still fresh in my head. I took a left exit at the end of the first motorway. Once in Kent, I knew my way to my grandmother's house, as it was pretty much home territory too, having lived there when I was younger. We had a great day visiting my grandmother and one of my aunts too. Coming back home, though, was a little different. That left turn at the end of the motorway going there became an exit in the middle of another motorway coming back. And I missed the signpost. So did my boyfriend, who'd been assigned to watch for the signpost while I was focusing on the traffic. A Mini at 70 miles an hour is no match for a lorry, even when you're going the same way. And before we knew it, instead of going through Dartford Tunnel, we found ourselves heading towards the Blackwall Tunnel. My dad had said, well, if you miss one, it's not a disaster, just take the Blackwall Tunnel instead. I asked my boyfriend to get a map out and redirect us. But I didn't feel lost yet. This was the point where my boyfriend finally decided it was time to own up. He couldn't read a map. He had been hoping I would just remember the way. He had no idea how to work out where we were. He couldn't find the starting point, so had no idea how to plan the journey forwards. I was great at reading a map, as I'd always read maps for my father while he was driving. But I wasn't so good at reading the signposts en route. The problem was I was driving and I couldn't pull over on the motorway, so I just had to keep going. First, it was the motorway I couldn't stop on, and then we were in Blackwall Tunnel. All good so far, but again, I wasn't good at reading the signs. Before I knew it, we were in the wrong lane. I couldn't change lanes as the traffic was too heavy and moving too fast. And I was stuck in the left lane, the entire tunnel and out of the other end. The lane turned left and we had to follow it. We found ourselves being forced into the middle of London City. It all happened so quickly for me as a driver, but for him, it seemed like that moment of eternity, trying to match waypoints to some random piece of paper with lines all over it, and no clue how to find the information we needed. He was giving me all the wrong directions, and I, in my panic, misread the signs. Soon we were in one-way streets of London with traffic works and double yellow lines everywhere. I could not pull up anywhere for almost an hour. We blindly drove through the dark and sometimes ran in circles. And finally, I could stop and take the map from him to plot our way home. I finally had the map across the steering wheel. But where was I right now? I didn't know. I was truly lost. So let's stop and think for a minute. We'd hit rock bottom on our quest to find our way home. Let's look at the effects of this journey on both our emotions. It was cold, dark, and getting late. Our emotions were not happy, and we argued. I was frustrated at what was happening and embarrassed at being lost. I had no one to ask directions from. He was frustrated at the pressure of making decisions that he wasn't trained to make, and embarrassed at not being able to help. I was annoyed with myself for missing that signpost. I was tired as I drove home, and I felt lost and drained emotionally as well as literally. We had ended up much further from home than we should have. We had gone in the wrong direction, and it took a while to take stock of our surroundings, locate our position on the map, and finally we could head towards home again. And as you can imagine, our 2.5-hour journey now turned into 4 hours. But as Lao Tzu's wisdom says, every mile, bear with me, It was every mile took us 1 mile closer to home. So that was my journey to Kent and back via London. And I hope that makes sense to you now, how that journey of us literally getting lost. Oh, bear with me. Right. I never get phone calls while I do a live normally. That's the first. So we never actually. That's thrown me. People don't normally ring me twice. I'll have to ring back in a minute and edit this bit out. Now I've got lost. See, I was talking, now I'm lost. So yes. Right. I'm going to have to bear with me. Hi, Kate, I'm on a live recording. Can I call you back? Oh, okay, okay, all right, it's fine, but I'm on a live recording at the moment. Okay, thanks, bye-bye. Right. Right, sorry, so anybody who's watching, my landlady randomly decided to turn up. She'll wait till I'm done. So yes, I was saying, so when we went to London and got lost, it was very emotional. That sensation of being lost, being in the dark, being cold, and very much like that hiker, where I talked about the hiker falling into a pit and not having help. We were at a point where I needed to get out of the vehicle and say, I need help. So I couldn't find anybody to help me. So for me, I had to search around and walk around until I could find signposts and go back to the car and locate those signposts on the map. And only once I finally found out where we actually were on the map, could I finally plot my way home. And so that is why with the emotional awareness, I love to use this as the map. When my son was emotionally lost and he was stuck in a rut in depression, and the pits of depression very often suicidal, and he, no matter how much cried out for help, couldn't find his way. This is when I realized he was a visual learner, that I needed to find a way to help him see his emotions. And very much like that journey, this map helped him to find out where he was. And now just imagine this as well. When you have found out where you are on a map, if you don't know where you are going, how do you plot your journey? And that is the next part of feeling lost. Is, okay, you might be in depression, you might be in sadness, you might be in anger, but you know you want to get back to happiness because that's the natural human drive. So recognizing where he was and where he wanted to be gave him the power to plot his journey back emotionally. So that is what I do as an emotional awareness expert, is to help people understand the emotional cycle diagram to create that visual journey of coming back from depression, from emotion or overwhelm, from stress, from anxiety, from whatever it is you are going through yourself, with your teenagers, or whether you are supporting somebody else and want to learn how to use this diagram to support them. So I'm going to pop a link down in the chat below for my website. I'm going to cut this one short today because I've now got to go and have a word with my landlady. But thank you so much for watching in today, or for catching up on replay. Do let me know what you've got from this and if it's helped you understand the concept of feeling lost in a whole new light. I'll speak to you again next week. Bye-bye. Thanks again for watching the Parenting Teens.